Have you heard about Microsoft wanting $40,000 for a developer to have a patch for a game? Have you heard about this?
Yes, I heard about that because specifically, apparently, it's affecting Fez. Was it Fez or Minecraft? What is
Yeah,
it?
Fez. Like they gave him like the title update for free, and then every update, every patch after that costs $40,000. And a
That's
small,
really that's fucking ridiculous.
yeah, and a small indie developer like Polytron that makes Fez, they can't afford to spend $40,000 just to fix some problems. And they said it only affects like 1% of the players, and they said it really sucks that they can't afford to fix it, but
Yeah,
they just hopes the fans will understand. And I understand. I mean, it's hard out there for independent developers. I mean, $40,000, that's not that's a lot of money.
hell yeah, I think that's probably even more than what they've even made off the game.
Yeah, and they were saying how they actually pay Microsoft to be like exclusive on their platform. They're not actually getting paid, and like it's just crazy how much. I mean, the more you find out about the industry, the more just kind of gross it is, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's pretty disgusting the way it's been going nowadays. It's just like it's so anti-creative. Uh, just everything about it is just holding developers back from making anything new, and it's really disappointing because I just look at what's being made now compared to back in the day, and there's so many less risks made. And what sucks is the games that do take risks and do something different. I completely appreciate it, but you know what? In the end, the game flops because people are like, "Oh, it doesn't have online. It's not like this. It's not like that. Gay." And I'm just like, really, people? And it's like few games like Minecraft and stuff like that. They end up being popular, which is a good thing. But I really wish more big name developers would actually see that because then we would have more bigger budget creative titles.
Yeah, and one thing that makes Minecraft's success so amazing is that they did it all without Steam. Like for a lot of independent developers, Steam is pretty much what makes them either make a profit or like their game fails. Like that's huge for them having being on Steam. And Steam recently like upped their involvement with independent games with their Greenworks, their Greenlight project,
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
and that's great because a lot of fantastic indie games like Mutant Mudds, which was previously out on the 3DS, and Aquaria, Aquaria later came on, but Unepic, and all these games just have not made it on the Steam because they just get denied, and like they don't even get like much constructive criticism when they get denied. They just get like, we don't feel this is a good fit. Like that's
Yeah,
what to help them.
and it's really stupid because you know Steam should be an open platform for whatever wants to get on there. Just like Desura, what ModDB's downloadable service is now. And it's just stupid that all this stuff is being dictated and it wouldn't hurt for these smaller games to be on a bigger platform that's well known because that way more people can find out about them. Because if you just start off small in some little indie game forum, if your game doesn't really pick up, it never picks up at all. And that kind of stuff sucks for developers.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that there should be like a quality standard, but it's not like Mutant Mudds is failing a quality standard. I mean, it's like the 10th best ranked like 3DS title on Metacritic. It's a fantastic platformer, and for it to get denied just really upsets me because it's a great game that hasn't really gotten the attention it deserves, and it seems like these games that have been getting denied have like a 2D style to them. Like, seems like Steam's almost like anti 2D, which is just I don't know. It's weird. It's like they don't want to be associated with stuff like that.
It's kind of funny too because they have a lot of like the classic Sega Genesis games and stuff like that on there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get them. I mean, they have Cave Story. Like, that's a similar graphic style, and I mean, Steam has done so much for the indie community, but at the same time, they've kind of blown it off until now, and I think with this new project, it's really helping them. And back to, like, charging for patches, I know Sony doesn't quite charge 40,000, but they do charge less, but they still charge quite a bit apparently. I saw Tim Schafer said that he responded to somebody on Twitter. He was saying how it was still enough to where it doesn't make sense for them to patch Brutal Legend because it must have like some small issue on the PS3, and he said it doesn't make sense for them to patch it because just wouldn't make sense financially for them. And it's just a bummer that games like that need patches sometimes don't get them just because the developer doesn't have the money. And Double Fine's, they're not huge by any standards, but I mean they're pretty big, like compared to somebody like Polytron. And when they're even having troubles like getting a patch out, that shows like what's wrong with the gaming industry.
I totally agree with that. And now that all this is kind of starting to come to light, I know that developers would have to pay to get stuff like that done, but I never knew it was that much. And it kind of makes sense now that a lot of games that unfortunately got released broken on the 360 never got patched for that reason. And I'm going to use this one game specifically, Supreme Commander 2, which was published by Square Enix and developed by Gas Powered Games. I do believe Supreme Commander 2 was actually Square Enix's first Western published game by Western game developer. And the PC, it was, for the people who don't know what that is, it's a real-time strategy game that was supposed to revolutionize real-time strategy gaming on the 360 while also being true to its PC predecessor. The PC version got patched to hell. Like, literally every week there was a new patch for it. The 360 got one patch, and now it's just so you could play the downloadable content that they released for it, which was even more half-assed than the PC version. And literally there's AI problems, there's just huge balance issues and stuff like that. And the game has never seen one patch to get that fixed. And I'm at that point now I kind of think it kind of makes sense with Square Enix because they made a big gamble publishing a game like that. And if it's going to cost them that much to fix it on a particular platform, they're just going to ditch it. It's not really worth it.
Definitely, and like it's really easy just to blame like the developer. Oh, why won't they fix this game? But like when we learn new stuff like this, we get to see it from their perspective. And like you said, I never thought it would be quite that much. I never thought it was that expensive just to patch a game. And it feels like for some of the larger games, like every time I go to play Call of Duty, it needs a new patch. And I'm like, so Activision is paying like 40,000 each time, and like it's just
ridiculous.
It's nothing for Activision, but like for Polytron, that's huge, and that's just one patch. Like,
it is.
It's crazy, and I'm not sure if this is confirmed, but I saw that Steam might be allowing like patching as often as possible now. I think I read that on NeoGAF somewhere. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but if it is, we might finally see Minecraft on Steam, since that was the main issue why it wasn't, because they couldn't get updates whenever they wanted to. They would have to get through a process, and that would mean like half of the gamers who like didn't get it on Steam would get the updates first, and then it would segment the user base. But if they can just patch whenever they want now, as I read, that's huge for Steam, and it seems like Steam's becoming a lot more developer friendly than it already was, and that's definitely encouraging news.
It definitely is. I was actually going to say something, but I lost my train of thought. But it's, along with all this news that's coming to light, it's no wonder so many companies are like going down and under because of shit like that. It's just, I don't see, especially a company like Microsoft, they make computer products that are pretty much the most widely used in the world. I really don't see why they have to be so money hungry like that for any particular reason. And along with Steam being a little less indie developer friendly, it's kind of interesting with how all that stuff works out, because Steam is like the prime platform for PC gamers. It's what PC gamers praise. It's what most PC gamers, say sage PC gaming, and at the same time it's alienating a portion of its fan base. But right now it kind of seems to be trying to fix that up.
Yeah, and props to Valve for that. I mean, they recognized it was a problem and they're trying to fix it, and that's great. And like just Microsoft, man. I really think you see a lot more like indie, like big name downloadable games actually coming to PSN. Like you see a lot of huge games like Dyad just came out, which was created basically by two people, and they said working with Sony was actually a very good experience for them. And downloadable games for the PS3 do not have platinum trophies, and yet they were able to get Sony to allow them to have one because how their system works in their game, each level has like a trophy version of it, like a remixed version of the level. There's 26 levels in all, so that means there'd be 26 trophies. And I think the max like a downloadable game could have was 25. So like they bugged Sony like a ton, and Sony finally said, "Here, you can have your platinum trophy." And it's just pretty awesome seeing how they were able to get past something that was set in stone. It's
Yeah, persistence is good. And I just completely remembered what I was gonna say. What I do believe it was released last year, or the year before then, but I'm pretty sure it was last year. One of the games that got ported from the PC to the 360 was action RPG called Torchlight. Um, the game in the beginning had lag issues and stuff like that. I do believe they were patched out. But as a lot of you who are familiar with the name Torchlight, Torchlight 2, the sequel, is supposed to be coming out this summer.
yeah, it's like a Diablo type game, right?
Yep, it's made by actually previous designers of the Diablo franchise, and those of you who are familiar with the Fate games, also developers from that. Really great collaboration, and I personally really enjoy the series, and Torchlight 2 looks to be a fantastic game. And I feel sorry for the Xbox 360 fans because, what are they called? Runic Games, the developer, said they weren't going to be releasing it on the Xbox 360. They claimed it was for memory constraint reasons and some other nonsense, but it was, yeah, pretty much memory constraints, and I believe something about file size on the Xbox Live Marketplace. And to me, that's just kind of their way of saying, we're not going to deal with all the issues we dealt with the first time. It was too expensive. It's not worth it. We're just going to stick with our PC market. That's pretty much after all this has just happened. I'm pretty much vouching for that because there's full-length Xbox 360 games available from the marketplace. There's other games that are way bigger than Torchlight on Xbox Live Arcade that are available right now. The Xbox 360 is more than capable to handle Torchlight 2. I know that for a fact. So now that I think back to that excuse, I just think that was their way of saying, hey, we're not going to put up with the fees and all the other bullcrap we've had to put up with Torchlight 1. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. And another thing, like Microsoft, and I know Nintendo does this as well, and I'd assume Sony does, but I'm not sure. They actually set the prices for the games. Like the developer only has so much input on the price of what their game wants to be. Like they can say, "Hey, we want it for $5," but like if Microsoft wants, they can set it at 10. And I think that's it's discerning. I don't like that. I think the developers should have the final say on the price, and they have the same right with like the release date and stuff like that. And I really don't like that. I know Nintendo changed the one DSiWare game from like 400 points to 800 points a while back, a couple months ago. It was like some Halloween game that really sucked. But one of the big complaints was that it was so expensive, and the developer said, "Hey, we wanted it for 400, but Nintendo thought otherwise." So I mean, that bothers me.
It does. And for a lot of people trying to get into the gaming industry right now, it's very, not to make it seem exaggerated or overdramatic, but it's kind of disturbing to see the trend going on now. It's just, the creative industry as a whole is just not where no one wants to be right now. Literally, it's just people getting laid off left and right, companies just trying to force you to do stuff, I guess, what you don't want to do. Like you just said, they want to price it at this. The company's like, no, you got to price it at this. I want to release it this day. I want to release it at, the company's like, no, we're going to hold your game hostage until this date when we feel like releasing it. Example being, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D. I do believe, one of the Jaws games from forever ago was like that. It actually almost became, uh, shit, what's the word for the games that pretty much disappear?
Development hell, or would it be like publisher hell?
No. It's something vaporware. It almost became
Ah, there we go.
A lot of games are just turning into vaporware because of that. It's sad because you look at the requirements for a lot of stuff where you're trying to get into the gaming industry, and they're like, oh, you have to have your name on like 2 published games, this and that, this and that. It's just not the place a lot of people getting out of school really want to go to right now, because if you're looking for, that's why there's such a boom in indie development right now, is because you can pick what you want to do with your game, what it looks like, what you want it to be. All these other companies are just, the publishers are just evil to the developers now. They're like, no, we don't want that. You're going to do it like this. If not, we're not going to publish your game. Which does make sense because they are funding the game. But at the same time, I do believe some of the constraints they're giving developers should be, lifted. Like other games such as Time Splitters 4, the developers were working hard on that. Guess what? Crytek buys them out and says, nope, can that shit. You're going to go work on Crysis 3 now. Well,
yeah, I agree completely. And the market has changed so much where you can have a game that sells like 1 million copies, has like a limited edition, and then the studio's out of business like 2 months later. Like Prototype 2, that was developed by Free Radical, I think.
Yeah, Free Radical.
Yeah, and they're out of business now after having a huge launch, huge campaign push by Activision, limited edition. I still see it in the store, $70. Sold over 1 million copies, and they're like, oh, not good enough. Got to close down the whole studio. You just sold 1 million copies.
It's really sad because once again it goes back to creative games not existing nowadays, and that's one of the franchises disappeared. I know when Konami swallowed Hudson, Bomberman 3DS got canned. They claimed, oh, we didn't cancel any games, we just bought out the company. It's a load of crap because it's been over 1.5 years, and all they've been doing is just Castlevania and
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. That's it. Like literally everything else doesn't exist to them.
Hey, we had a Frogger game just come out on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. Come on.
I saw it. It looked interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it had like a Contra mode, which seems cool. But yeah, I mean, I think we had a good discussion. About it. It started on indie games, branched off into the game marketplace as a whole, and it's very interesting seeing the gaming market just evolve, and it was a good discussion.
It is, and to end it with, I'm going to go ahead and end it with now something that's come out into the horizon, which could be changing the game industry as we know it, is a new console, open-based console called Ouya, which, of course, we're going to be discussing in our next podcast, which I have a lot to talk about that. A lot of indie developers seem to be very excited about it. I myself am very excited for it, so can't wait to talk about that.
Yup, exactly, so you can be on the lookout for our next podcast coming soon.